Welcome to our informal debate on neurodiversity affirming practices for Ball State University. Now for introductions. I will start. My name is Kelsey Jackson. I have been working in ABA for a little under 5 years, and I have been a lead technician for 3 of those years. And my duties include training new staff in the ways of ABA, along with providing services to clients one-on-one. I have 4 classes left at BSU in order to earn my degree in behavior analysis, and my hopes are to get certified as a BCBA, and I am the introducer.
My name is Sarah Parker. I have been working in the field of ABA for 25 years. I have been an RBT, a BC ABA, and a clinical supervisor. I currently work in a center teaching classes and overseeing the programs and teams of 5 clients. I have been working for the same company for all of my experience and have worked with children from ages 18 months to 18 years. I have 1 more semester left after this one at BSU, and I plan to become a BCBA after completing my coursework and fieldwork. I am the illustrator for this project.
My name is Haley Phelps. I have a bachelor's in social work. I am currently working to get my master's in ABA at Ball State University. I have 3 classes left after this one. I have 5 years experience working with a neurodiverse population of all ages and all diagnoses, and I have experience working in the clinics and schools, and I am the fielder.
My name is Sarah Kraft. I have been an RBT for almost 2 years now, and I am a lead technician at my clinic. I work with kiddos ages 2 to 14 in home, at a clinic, and in a school setting. I focus on running social skills groups and training new RBTs who are studying for their exam. I completed my undergrad studies in applied behavior analysis and health education, and I have 3 classes left for my master's education, and am excited to start working as a BCBA, and I am the summarizer.
And my name is Miranda Reichard. I have been working in ABA for almost 2 years now. I work with children ages 5 to 14 in home and at our learning center. When I'm not in direct intervention sessions, I also lead social skills groups and train new technicians. I have 4 classes left at Ball State before I graduate with my master's degree in ABA. And after graduating, I hope to become certified as a BCBA. And I am the researcher for this project.
So for our debate, we will be focusing on 3 key areas, which is services provided, the social versus medical model, and stimming versus expression. We will discuss the affirmative and negative of each topic in the slides to come. This is our introduction to neurodiversity and the neurodiversity movement slide.
So the neurotypical is defined as individuals with typical neurological development or functioning.
And neurodivergent or atypical neurological development, including neurological or neurodevelopmental disorders, which include attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, bipolar disorder, developmental dyspraxia, dyslexia, epilepsy, and Tourette's syndrome. And this is also individuals with autism spectrum, or more generally, someone whose brain processes information in a way that is not typical of most individuals.
So according to Jarzma and Wellen, 2012, the neurodiversity concept was put together in the mid-1990s in order to promote acceptance of how diverse the human mind can be and how it can function in the world, including social acceptance and equal opportunities for every individual, regardless of their differences in neurology.
The neurodiversity movement, at its core, suggests that the opposition of the medical model of disability. It campaigns against social exclusion of the neurodivergent population while promoting self-advocacy and inclusion for the population in institutions and society. Gersman and Wellen state that advocates for the neurodiversity movement claimed that their condition isn't something to be cured, but rather it should be recognized as a difference in things such as socializing, communicating, and sensing. It is not a disadvantage and it must be equally respected.
Cherewick recommends in her 2023 article that we reframe autistic brain development. She suggests that we stop looking at autism as a deficit-focused disability and begin to look at it as a different focused framework. Recent brain imaging and understanding of how the autistic brain develops during childhood and adolescence should drive how we provide treatment. This chart shows that early childhood, ages 0 to 5, is the best time to work on emotional regulation. The ages of 5 to 9 are best for working on communication. And ages of 9 to 15 would be best for social motivational learning. And the ages of 16 to 20 are best for targeting executive functioning skills. The Ethics Code 2.13 and 2.14 cover selecting, designing, and implementing behavior change interventions and assessments. Utilizing the latest scientific knowledge about brain development to do this is in our clients' best interests.
For our first argument, we will be discussing how neurodiversity affirming models affect the services that we provide as behavior analysts. How do neurodiversity affirming interventions impact ABA services, and would more of them be beneficial? Excuse me. We have Miranda debating this topic from the affirmative viewpoint, and Sarah Kraft will be debating this topic from the negative viewpoint. As a reminder, behavioral services defined by the BACB Ethics Code for Behavior Analysts are services that are explicitly based on the principles and procedures of behavior analysts and are designed to change behavior in meaningful ways. These services include assessments, behavior change interventions, training, consultation, managing and supervising others, and delivering continuing education.
On the affirmative side, our primary goal as ABA professionals is to see the individuals that we work with succeed. In order to guarantee the best outcomes, it is important to recognize the strengths of individuals with autism rather than focusing on what we perceive to be their weaknesses. A neurodiversity affirming viewpoint, as stated by Lerner, Gerba, and Gassner in 2023, should reframe the goals of interventions to focus on supporting the strengths, including the social strengths, of autistic individuals and creating environments that foster them. Since our core principles laid out by the BACB in the Ethics Code for Behavior Analysts include ideas like benefit others and treat others with compassion, dignity, and respect, we shouldn't want to do anything else except for create environments that foster the strengths of autistic individuals. By taking a deficit-focused approach to providing ABA services and targeting behaviors for change, we are making our services extremely aversive for the individuals we serve. Since neurodiversity affirming practices focus on supporting those with autism, making them commonplace in ABA has the capability to redefine the standards of applied behavior analysis. Excuse me. We know that ABA therapy has been a source of trauma for numerous individuals. Leaf et al. In 2022 lays out the long-term negative outcomes that have been associated with ABA therapy, including depression, anxiety, and post-traumatic stress disorder. These are negative outcomes that are also associated with masking, which Miller, Reese, and Pearson in 2021 defined as the process of intentionally or unintentionally hiding aspects of yourself to avoid harm. When ABA programs target behaviors that are simply personality characteristics in individuals with ASD, they are forcing those individuals to mask their true selves, which contributes to the trauma that individuals with autism are subjected to through classic ABA practices. The shift to neurodivergent affirming interventions would challenge the idea that ABA therapy is trying to cure autism and change the way that ABA professionals view autistic traits. A final point I'd like to make about how neurodiversity affirming practices would benefit the services we provide has to do with the outcomes of our interventions. Using neurodiversity affirming interventions that prioritize the dignity, comfort, and strengths of individuals with ASD have the potential to yield more positive results than those that focus on the individual's deficits. In 2022, Dahlman, Williams, and Villa wrote that common ABA approaches such as reward systems, first-then charts, seeking compliance through hand-over-hand or body manipulation, planned ignoring, and other behavioral approaches rely on the therapist to develop the targeted behavior while devaluing the child's internal experience of that intervention. Considering not only the client's needs, but also the client's preferences and personhood is necessary in our goal of treating our clients with respect and dignity. A neurodiversity affirming framework encourages active collaboration with neurodivergent voices in choosing goals and interventions that are meaningful for the individual. While this is the main idea of item 2.09 in the Ethics Code for Behavior Analysts, it is a goal that is often neglected. We know this because of the many adults with autism who have spoken out about ABA therapy being a source of trauma for them. Goals and interventions that involve and benefit the client will simply make ABA therapy more enjoyable and less aversive, thus promoting skill acquisition and learning, which is beneficial to everyone. Because we know that neurodivergent affirming practices are more preferable for individuals with autism, and our goals as ABA professionals is to benefit the clients, it seems like a no-brainer that they should be commonplace in our field.
For the medical model, when we think about services we provide as behavior analysts, we want to consider the 7 dimensions of ABA outlined by Baer, Wolf, and Risley in 1968. Our services should be applied, behavioral and analytic, technological, conceptually systematic, effective, and generalizable. Let's talk specifically about how the applied dimensions fit in the neurodiversity movement. Baer, Wolf, and Risley describe the applied dimensions as being not determined by research, but determined by society. We want to help individuals feel comfortable and capable in their own skin and as a part of the world around them. A large part of that is preparing the individuals that we serve with the skills necessary to take part in everyday society. These can include skills like making eye contact, sitting still for extended periods of time, and engaging in appropriate conversations. While neurodiversity affirming interventions may accept characteristics such as stimming and lack of eye contact, much as the world does not, and the individuals we serve have a harder time integrating into society if they do not understand the societal norms that shape our everyday behaviors.
This model, developed by Chairwork and Mageria in 2023, displays autistic strengths that can be used to design programs that support mental health. They believe that strength-based interventions can provide positive effects on mental health by building and supporting skills such as social skills and self-determinism. They state that vulnerabilities such as loneliness and being bullied and underemployed can be reduced by focusing on strength-based interventions. Utilizing strengths to teach skills that support mental health supports the Ethics Code 2.01 of providing effective treatment. In their 2022 article, Dahlman et al. Recommend that practitioners look to the individuals themselves to guide treatment. They recommend treatments that center around individuality and recognize each learner as a person with individual needs. The Ethics Code 2.15, minimizing risk of behavior change intervention, is demonstrated here. The strategy of supporting individuals through a meltdown versus ignoring them teaches them to regulate themselves.
So in our next slides, we will be talking about the social model versus the medical model.
In the medical model of autism encourages continual research into the causes of autism with the primary goal of finding a way to prevent or cure autism. This is a subset of the medical model of disability in general. The model advocates a variety of goals, including increased awareness of autism prevalence, earlier and more accessible diagnosis, elimination of autistic behaviors through therapies such as applied behavior analysis, identification of environmental factors that may cause autism in infancy, and indications of genetic markers to allow testing for autism in utero. Advocates for the medical model believe that autism is a disorder caused by genetic defects or environmental harm, that the value of talents attributed to autism does not outweigh the deficits, and that most autistic people would be better off if they were not autistic. Many organizations subscribe to the medical model. Most of these organizations are nonprofit. The autism rights and neurodiversity movement are critics of the medical model.
The CDC suggests a social model framework as a society that is inclusive and accommodating for all. Jacqueline Howding, an individual with autism, states that she herself is not disabled, but rather the environment in which she is in disables her. She states that there is no fix or cure-all as the medical model suggests, but rather ways in which she replaces behaviors to better cope with her environment. Some barriers she suggests are attitudinal, physical, and policy barriers.
As for the affirmative argument, or the argument for the social model, I would like to say that the social model does not pathologize on the challenges, and it instead gives equal attention to what the person can do. And any genetic or biological variations are just like the heterogeneity of human life. Kapp et al. In 2013 writes that the social model posits that disability is rooted substantially in inaccessible social and political infrastructures, rather than in the individual. Much like the social model, neurodiversity affirming interventions also focus on what an individual can do instead of what they can't. When considering how the social model, neurodiversity affirming practices, and applied behavior analysis all work together, one should evaluate the goals and behaviors that are targeted during ABA therapy. The neurodiversity affirming model emphasizes choosing goals that are significant for the autistic individual. These can be things such as targeting life skills and anxiety about uncertainty. No matter what goals are chosen, it is imperative that behavior analysts collaborate on those goals with the client and that the client is giving informed consent to taking part in that intervention. This is also a point emphasized in the Ethics Code for Behavior Analysts, item 2.11, obtaining informed consent. Leadbeiter et al. In 2021 also discusses the importance of promoting autonomy in the populations we work with. Individuals with autism deserve the same respect that neurotypical individuals do, so overbearing interventions such as physical prompts, planned ignoring, and refusal of them communicating no left them, in Leadbeiter et al.'s words, passive, traumatized, and vulnerable to abuse. Teaching our clients how to advocate for themselves and respecting them when they do is a key idea of a neurodiversity affirming framework. The social model and neurodivergent affirming practices both stress the role that society plays in defining disability. In order for neurodivergent individuals to be accepted and respected, society must adjust its own barriers and biases in order to support the neurodivergent population.
The medical model uses the terms disability, disease, dysfunctional, and disorder to categorize each and every type of symptoms, differences, and mechanisms below average basis on standardized measures of functioning that cause challenges in life. The pro-cure perspective is taken by many who agree with the medical model or negative thinking. Pro-cure organizations generally favor the medical model of disability with regards to autism. They believe that the atypical behaviors of autistic individuals are a determinant to those individuals' success, both socially and professionally, and should therefore be reduced or eliminated through therapy. Autistic people's life experiences are viewed as substandard and a burden to their caretakers.
Revisiting the Dahlman et al. Chart, we can see the medical model values fitting in. The neurodiversity approach supports clinicians who respond to any and all communication in a positive manner. This chart shows clearly that the medical model promotes negative thinking and neurodiversity movement promotes positive thinking.
In our final section, we will be looking at stimming through a neurodiversity affirming viewpoint and debating whether stimming is a behavior of interest in ABA interventions. Miranda will be debating this topic from the affirmative viewpoint that stimming should be accepted as a neurodiversity affirming frameworks have described, and Sarah will be debating this from a negative viewpoint that stimming should be treated. Stimming refers to a type of self-stimulatory and or stimulating behavior. This can include motor movements and or vocalizations, which can be repetitive. Everybody stims in some way or another. Some examples include toe walking, hand flapping, playing with jewelry, picking your nails, etc.
Neurodiversity affirming models do not believe in targeting stimming as a behavior for reduction. This is because stimming is a coping mechanism that helps those who do it work through distress and overwhelming situations. In 2019, Kapp et al. Asked 32 autistic adults questions about their experiences with stimming, and they found that not only was stimming an effective coping mechanism for the participants, but that over 80% of them also found enjoyment in stimming. Also, many forms of stimming, such as hand flapping, can be done anywhere at any time, meaning that the individual has a coping mechanism that they can use independently in a variety of situations. Another affirmative point relating to neurodiversity affirming interventions and stimming considers how stimming is typically treated using ABA interventions. Sensory extinction and response blocking make it impossible to stim either by using environmental modifications or by directly blocking the stimming. While there is evidence that these interventions work to decrease stimming, Ahern et al. In 2007 acknowledged that this is likely due to a punishing effect rather than extinction. One of the core principles of ABA is to benefit others by protecting the welfare of the client above all else. Are we benefiting the client by punishing them for engaging in behaviors that are not inherently harmful? Furthermore, individuals that feel forced to mask their stims describe the negative toll that it takes on them, that it has taken on them, in a study by Miller, Reese, and Pearson in 2021. Several significant themes emerged when autistic participants were interviewed about their experiences with masking, including a loss of identity, a physical and emotional toll, feeling disconnected from others, and mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. More negative effects of masking stims, as described in Charlton et al. In their 2021 study, are the cognitive effort it takes to suppress stims and the loss of benefits to cognition from performing preferred stims, both of these leading to a lack of concentration and reducing available cognitive resources. A neurodiversity affirming framework aims to normalize autistic traits, such as stimming, so that they are no longer a source of shame for those with autism.
In the medical model, a study by Slocum et al. In 2020 aimed to treat stereotype in the form of hand clapping in 2 young boys with autism. The boys' hand clapping was a behavior interested of 3 noted reasons. The clapping was a hindrance to their academic achievement, disruptive to their peers, and had caused damage to both clients' hands and wrists in the form of permanent calluses for one participant and a broken wrist for the other. Let's go over each of these concerns one by one, starting with the first concern that stereotype is a hindrance to academic achievement. Numerous studies have found that engaging stereotypic behaviors can prevent an individual from engaging in more adaptive or socially appropriate behaviors, including academic activities. For example, in 2018, Cook, and Reb found that 80% of participants in their study required interventions to decrease their stereotype. In order to complete academic tasks, the next concern is that stereotypic behaviors can be disruptive to others. The stereotype can draw negative attention to the person stimming and therefore can make that person a target for bullying or discrimination. Kuhn and Rapp in 2020 found that even low levels of motor stereotype produce negative perceptions of the individual stimming, and those negative perceptions only grew as the stimming intensified. This can cause many challenges for the individual in various stages of their lives. They may find it more difficult to make friends, engage in social situations, and find a job. A final concern of stereotype identified by Slocum et al. Is that it can cause injury to the individual or others around them. This is a concern that we as practitioners should be taking to our top priority. The Ethics Code for Behavior Analysts, Code 3.01, advises us to act in the best interests of the client, maximize benefits, and do no harm. It would be incredibly unethical to allow a behavior that causes harm, physical or otherwise, to occur when we can instead work with the individual to create a safe and appropriate replacement behavior. Because stereotypic behaviors such as hand clapping, nail biting, and rocking can cause bodily harm to the individual engaging in those behaviors, finding appropriate alternatives for these behaviors should be a priority.
This is a list of the ethical guidelines we touched on during our presentation. Next, we have Sarah Kraft and Miranda with our closing arguments and Haley with our Q&A, and we finish our debate presentation with our references.
To wrap up my affirmative argument promoting neurodiversity affirming interventions, I would first like to restate the core principles of ABA as established in the Ethics Code for Behavior Analysts. Benefit others, treat others with compassion, dignity, and respect, behave with integrity, and ensure competence. While these are the overarching goals of any behavior analyst, some classic ABA-approved practices, such as planned ignoring and physical manipulation, violate these practices. Violate these principles. As practitioners, we can be so focused on our goals and the outcomes, and we cannot always identify when we have crossed a client's boundary, especially when the client has a limited ability to communicate. So that's why it is so critical to listen to these voices when they speak out about the necessity of neurodivergent affirming interventions. In order to show our clients compassion, dignity, and respect, we must consider their autonomy and individuality, and remember that we cannot achieve our goal of benefiting others if the interventions we use are traumatizing to them. Furthermore, a neurodiversity affirming viewpoint puts the neurodivergent individual first when considering goals targeted during ABA. When targeting certain traits and behaviors that are not inherently harmful, for example, reducing stimming or increasing eye contact, we perpetuate the idea that autism and neurodiversity are weaknesses. By instead focusing on goals that are actually meaningful to the individual, for example, teaching life skills, instead of trying to make them fit into society and be quote-unquote normal, we can spend our time making worthwhile changes in the lives of our clients instead of shaming them into compliance. To promote neurodiversity affirming practices across the field of ABA, behavior analysts should be required to take 1 to 2 continuing education units each year in relation to the topic. Getting involved in the community, such as by volunteering in functions or providing trainings for awareness, are also great steps to take when encouraging neurodivergent affirming practices. By fostering and promoting inclusivity, we can help create a society in which neurodiversity is no longer a deficit and where individuals with autism receive the same respect as neurotypical individuals.
To conclude the medical model, the general public may not be exposed to neurodiversity, causing fear and assumptions across the neurotypical population and creating unsafe situations for those on the spectrum if they do not fit into the quote-unquote norm. Kuhn and Rapp in 2020 found that even low levels of motor stereotyping produce negative perceptions of the individual stimming, and those negative perceptions only grew as the stimming intensified. This caused many challenges for the individual in various stages of their lives. They may find it more difficult to make friends and engage in social situations along with finding a job. Society is uniformed and many expectations are set. Some examples of this include, in 2022, a man with autism in northern Miami was shot when stimming with a silver car. And in 2021, a man with autism in Georgia was tased when stimming with a silver spoon.
So how can we apply neurodiversity affirming practices within our practice? We can provide client-first approaches by meeting clients where they are, incorporating clients' interest in interventions, and staying up to date on and training staff on compassion and neurodiverse affirming practices. What are the potential consequences of not including neurodiverse affirming practices? Amy Laurent, in a TED Talk in 2019, hosted neurodiverse adults who share their experiences growing up in our society. They stated that stimming was a source of expressing themselves or decompressing their stress, and if suppressed, may cause them anxiety or stress, and as mentioned, may also cause depression. How can we spread awareness to neurodivergent practices? We can advocate and educate the general population through volunteering or hosting sensory-friendly events throughout our community. We can train and educate first responders within the community on neurodiversity. We can train and educate educators on how to be inclusive within their classrooms. We can train other businesses within our communities on how to make accommodations and become more inclusive, such as having restaurants provide a sensory-friendly corner or a sensory-friendly room with lower lights and lower noise levels. The medical model teaches individuals what are the benefits of the medical model? So the medical model teaches individuals the social norm, allowing for them to be better accepted by society. According to CAP 2013, parents favor the medical model as a cure-all for the treatment. And then we also have our references at the end, as Kelsey had mentioned before.